Hello and welcome to the intro to, in particular, C++ programming. This is the first video which I will go over basic concepts and how to execute and implement programming methods. Now, I want to make this clear right now. This zero video, or all the ones labeled zero, are solely for you. There is no coding in this video. If you want to just jump into that, go to the first video labeled 1. These are, again, solely made for you. These are just basic definitions and concepts. If you are a beginner, I would highly recommend watching over these videos. You don't have to understand everything the first round, but just be familiar. I think it would help you in the long run. So, without further ado, let me just continue. So, what we'll be going over in this video is what this channel is, who I am, what this course will be about, and some of the resources that will help you with this particular course and some other programming languages. So, Solid State Society, this channel is just about learning CS for free, and you'll learn about the general concepts, ideas, executions for computer science, henceforth referred to as CS, from basic definitions, coding, and documentation. So, who am I? My name is Marin. I do game design, XR, and UI UX. I do everything, but this is what I enjoy the most. So I really enjoy programming for game design, and I dabble in UI UX for fun. I really enjoy programming when it involves interactivity of some kind because, well, yeah, it's easier to debug for sure, but I just enjoy a consistent back and forth between a user. I also really enjoy playing with hardware, stuff like Arduino, mostly because I enjoy the interactions between the actual hardware itself and the software. So without further ado, let's continue. So the mission for this particular course is I hope to hammer out basic concepts in programming and CS in general for everybody from absolute beginners who don't even know what coding is to people like intermediate. So the span of this course is to basically start from like the absolute beginning, from just writing your first hello world into like some basic algorithm implementations. If you're a programmer already, you probably know what I'm going to say these next couple words. If not, just don't worry about it yet. Stuff, like sorting, trees, searching, that kind of stuff. So in terms of what you should hopefully learn from this course is I'm planning on teaching, and hopefully you guys will gain the understanding of basic ideas that are usable in any programming language, not just the focus of this course, to be able to explain any given concept of other programming or general CS to anybody, and hopefully they can understand our jargon. Hopefully you'll be able to write code in some language, even if it's not this one, and you can be confident in your abilities to freehand. I know as beginners, a lot of people will probably just hug on to some pre-existing code for dear life. I hope that you can be confident at the end of this course to freehand some stuff, even if it's basic. And I would hope that you guys would not just be able to read your own code, but to dissect, assist, and even to gain insight to whatever our partner's code is. Now, I realize a lot of people who are going to be watching this are probably not going to be sitting next to somebody comparing back and forth, but if possible, I would see if you can in real life just, I don't know, you don't have to sit down and watch this video, but I don't know, if somebody else is learning programming, just go back and forth. I think it's really important, whether or not you're a beginner, that you learn how to deal with other people's code. In this particular course, we will be learning about programming through the use of the C++ language. I'm going to assume that most of the people who clicked on this video have either never programmed in C++ before, or you just want like a refresher. If you're here for a refresher, I'm just going to admit this is going to be a little slow for a course, so if you just don't feel really confident in, I don't know, programming or C++, this will be fine, but if this is like too slow or not up to speed for you, then I would recommend bumming around elsewhere. I want to be really clear about that. In terms of why I'm choosing C++, it's not just because it's my personal favorite. It's considered a harder language to learn, and it's mostly because it's a little older. So if you can learn this, you can learn any language. That's true for any language, just in general, but like if you can figure out a quote-unquote harder language, you can do anything, right? And another reason why is because it's widely used. I mean, it's used like everywhere. So, what are some of the things you're going to want to get for this course? You're going to want a compiler of some kind. I would recommend either using Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, but you're free to use whatever can compile C++. Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code can be downloaded on this link. There's a Mac version available, however, just a disclaimer for people who use Linux. There's no version of Visual Studio Code that works on Linux, or sorry, there's no version of like regular Visual Studio that works on Linux, but Code is available. It's a lighter version, but it's good. I actually use Code for web development more, but it works for C++. You are also able to get the community version, which I would recommend, so you don't have to like pay for anything, right? As I was told by my original mentor, and as I found true later on, you probably don't need the pro version, like unless you're doing, I don't know, a large-scale deployment of something or doing online stuff. You don't necessarily need to get the pro version or the business version or whatever. You can probably get away with 95% of the stuff that you're doing with regular Visual Studio. There are other compilers out there. I'll show you some. I don't even think I have it listed here, but there's other ones that you can get. I just like Visual Studio the best, but again, you might have some issues, not so much with deployment, but you're going to have just extra crap in there, so if you want to just export it elsewhere and you're really concerned about space, maybe just copy all your code, throw it into Notepad, and just save it as a new file of some kind, if you are really worried, but for an introduction class, it shouldn't be. Code documentation, which I know I went on to the next page kind of quickly after that rant, but code documentation is going to help you give an idea of what code is, where it derives from, and how to implement it. I might have a separate video, hopefully soonish, on how to read documentation, but just use this as another reference for yourself if I'm using anything that's maybe a little tougher, and shoot, just bum around there, just look at whatever they have in terms of other implementations. It'll give you a good idea of things that you can expect when you actually get good at programming, right? So we have Microsoft, DevDocs, and CPP reference. I really like C++ as a language because there's a lot of good multiple places for code documentation. It's very helpful. And I guess you could use Stack Overflow too, but this is just general documentation. Some tutorial sites. This isn't just to say, oh, I'm not that good of a teacher, so here's some other sites to help you understand better. No, this is, again, solely for your own understanding. If you want any more practice problems or just other resources besides me, these are just extra references for you. And they're not the only ones. They've been pretty helpful for me in the past when I started learning, so hopefully they'll be of use to you. If not, again, there's plenty of other places. So there's C++, Learn CPP, Tutorial Point, Geeks for Geeks, and the W3 schools. Obviously the first two are the C++ specific, but the other ones that aren't, they should already be on the C++ part. But if you want to do any other languages, I would look around at these other sites. They're really good. W3 in particular is really good for web development. Geeks for Geeks and Tutorials Point is a good idea of how to practice different algorithm implementation. Just, name some things you can do that isn't just C++. So just a heads up for this course. I know I brought up some of the stuff before, but if you are using this to teach yourself programming, there's a decent amount of work, and it's going to take up a decent amount of your time if you take it seriously. While it's obviously intended to be a crash course for learning the baselines of programming and in particular C++, I'm going to ask some tougher questions. Whenever I give you actual problems to work with, I'm going to give it a strata of really easy, medium, and hard. So easy is for the absolute beginners, medium is for people who are maybe just picking up a new language and are still kind of novices, and harder is for people who've done programming before. The questions that I pose are going to be solvable with whatever I just provide you with in that lesson. I don't want to make it unfair, especially for beginners. So these are just meant as extra challenges to help push you into critical thinking. Seeing as it's something that I'm doing for fun and just in my spare time, I'm just going to ask if there's any way that you're getting a hold of me. Please, for the love of God, comment your code. I don't want to read through uncommented crap, please. I don't really want to sift through anything that I can't read. I'm probably also not going to edit the videos too much. I'll be putting timestamps just to make things easier for you guys, but you can probably tell by my casual tone, yeah, I don't really plan on editing very much, and this really is for fun. I also want to bring up problems that are probably going to be similar to anything that you can find on like textbooks or online. But I want you to try to figure out the problems on your own before you just look up the answers. You'll get a much better idea, and you'll get better a lot quicker if you try it on your own. There's obviously a lot of problems that are really similar even between like textbooks and just online, right? That doesn't mean I'm not gonna make up any problems, but things get really samey, especially in beginners courses. So just fair warning, this isn't just for me, you'll see this in other channels too. But I'm gonna post answers to the slides and into GitHub repositories that I'll be setting up for later use or for references for any person who wants to see. I'm going to do my best to write the code that isn't going to be deprecated later. Basically, that means like it's not going to be supported. For an intro course, I don't think it's necessarily going to be a problem, but just in case, I don't think they're going to change up how you print like a string or something anytime soon, right? But on the next page, you'll see how I'll be dividing up this course. So I know I mentioned in the video previous, but anything marked with a 0 focuses pretty much solely on like terminology conventions and like some pseudocode, right? Videos labeled 1.1, 2.1, anything with like a 0.1, right? That is the video that's going to do like a slight review of some terminology, but pretty much just go into the tutorials of like coding. Anything that's like, I don't know, 1.x, anything that's not like a 0.1 is going to be videos that focus solely on coding using the problems I posted at the end of the initial videos. Other videos that I might post or that I might reference are going to be either like under a different playlist or just some general CS rants. They'll just be posted throughout the channel, just not necessarily in this playlist. So this is the presentation design that I used, using these fonts, these colors, and I want to thank SlideGo and Flaticon, and thank you for watching this video. I hope this is going to be a good start for Introduction to Programming and C++ programming. If you guys have any comments, leave them in the description, shoot me an email, whatever. I'm not gonna push you to do anything. Once again, thank you. I will see you all next video, and have a good day.